Tonight, earning their pay. Independent legislators knock out government debate time in favor of private members' bills. Criminal charges at the top. The Soldiers and Isolationists Party and the Alliance for National Democracy forcibly dissolved. Border units under fire. Units from the Great North send live fire into the Darent. A conscription bill has been tabled in the Assembly. And major reforms passed. Chancellor Barber manages to push through major tax, housing, and defense reforms. Good evening. This is Ryan Davenport with the KBC Evening News. After the knockdown, drag-out, no-holds-barred fight that represented the 642 election season, the plurally elected Kodiak Workers' Party government found itself entering the new assembly with a laundry list of promises and new projects. Chancellor Barber was, however, forced to expend considerable political capital to introduce even a portion of this ambitious agenda, as private members' bills from both this term and holdovers from the previous term of government overfilled the debate docket. Even presently, at this late stage of the election cycle, no less than 9 bills sit in line for debate in the chamber, not to mention 2 bills withdrawn prior to debate, and 10 pieces of legislation passed so far this term. While a considerable number of civil rights legislation has been passed by the Assembly over the previous 2 years, this has blocked out planned reforms to both education and labor rights. While Chancellor Barber has declined to comment on the question of his unfinished social reform agenda, the Chancellor's office did release a statement, thanking the Assembly for pressing the momentum to ensure that this term of government was more productive than the previous Carlson administration. The legalization of political parties within the Republic, after an uncharacteristically activist judicial ruling in December 639, has resulted in a somewhat mad scramble to lay claim to real estate within the political compass. This has not been without considerable embarrassment for government officials. The first political party in the Republic, the Democratic Labour Party, or DLPK, was responsible for winning the January 639 election. After the lackluster performance of the government in that term, members deserted en masse to the Socialist Kodiak Workers' Party and the Conservative National Unity Party. The DLPK was all but dissolved upon the retirement of Chancellor Carlson before the election of 642 had even complete. The left reformist Jacobin Club dissolved after its leadership was reported to have claimed asylum from the government of Lazarus, and the Kodiak Environmentalist Party ceased to exist after many of its members resigned their seats in the Assembly. Most notably, the fast-rising star of the Soldiers and Isolationists Party was snuffed out after its far-right leader was arrested and charged with kidnapping and unlawful imprisonment of no less than 15 minors in an attempt to, quote, build an anti-socialist resistance movement from the ground up, end quote. The newly resurgent Alliance for National Democracy was forcibly dissolved after it was discovered more than 3/4 of its membership list was in fact filled by recently deceased citizens. The organized political landscape has for the most part chosen to latch onto the parties of the National Coalition: the National Unity Party led by Deputy Chancellor Oscar Lutyens, the Kodiak Workers' Party led by Chancellor Patrick Barber, and the Progress Party led by President Verstrom. With the election only months away, it does appear that even after 5 years of entertaining the political jitterbug, only 2 major parties will enter the contest for the Chancellor's chair. After the severing of diplomatic ties from the government of King Ellenberg of the Great North as a result of the election of the socialist Patrick Barber in 642, defense experts have been reporting considerable military buildup within eyesight of the Kodiaker border posts on the River Darent. It had been initially reported by the Northerner government that the troop buildup was for nothing more than a 2-month training exercise. But now, 2 years later, the development of permanent logistics infrastructure, as well as the presence of what appears to be more than 20% of the Imperial Northern Army, would suggest that invasion may be imminent. The revised reports that over $10 billion of raw bauxite may exist within the Kodiaker Darent have put the region under threat after the Northerner Ministry of Foreign Affairs began releasing medieval documents of dubious quality which suggest that the area should belong to the Great North. While international organizations have been quick to put out press releases recognizing the Darent as part of the Kodiak Republic, none to this point have made an effort to pledge support to defend Kodiaker territory. This lack of international support appears to have emboldened Northern troops, for as recently as last week, small arms fire has found its way into Kodiaker territory from across the river. One woman and approximately 14 cattle were injured, and a number of residents in the area have reported damage to their vehicles, as well as the clapboard sidings of their homes. The Ministry of Defense has spent considerable time attempting to ready the area for invasion, but reports released after Freedom of Information requests make it clear the Kodiaker army has not yet been able to effectively rebuild after the Great Flu, even after billions of dollars of increased funding. The National Unity Party has tabled a bill obligating citizens to national service, but with the rank and file of the Kodiak Workers' Party in open revolt against the Chancellor for even considering national service an option, it looks unlikely it will pass. Our Chancellor may have had a difficult time introducing legislation to the Assembly this term, but he hasn't let that stand in his way. In the Chancellor's debate last term, Patrick Barber promised that during his term of government, the Assembly would always have at least one bill tabled for discussion, and on that front, he has succeeded. The landmark social housing policy promised by the Kodiak Workers' Party was aggressively opposed by conservatives in the Assembly, as well as a number of independent members, who were also critical of the bill. However, in a 52-48 majority, and a cost of 40 billion florins over 10 years, hundreds of thousands of subsidized homes will now be built in urban and regional centers, with special focus on the homeless, families, and the underemployed. Chancellor Barber had this to say: "For years the state has sat on its hands and refused to open the coin purse for our citizens. Today, with a socialist for your leader, I prove to you that together we can do anything. And today, that means a roof over a cold child's head, a break for the wallet of the overburdened worker, a place to call home for tens of thousands of citizens. Kodiak workers first, Kodiak workers always." The government has gone on to pass an 11 billion florin per annum defense reform bill authorizing the acquisition of new weapon systems and naval vessels, as well as a major tax overhaul. In a world first, Kodiak has repealed the traditional property tax and had it replaced with a theoretical Georgist land value tax. The government insists this will ensure jobs in regional centers, but international investors are not convinced. Markets also reacted poorly to the implementation of what is, in international terms, comparatively small alcohol and tobacco taxes. Mr. Barber has also signed a friendship treaty with the government of Queen Constance II of the United Kingdom. While no information has yet been released by any government, observers have noted high-frequency meetings between the British Prime Minister Allam, Chancellor Barber, and Prime Minister Kumar of the Republic of India. To community details now, notable roleplay dates you may wish to remember. It is presently the year 644, with the next election to begin the first quarter 645 on the 22nd of August, 2022. The year 648 election will occur on 14 November 2022, and the 651 election on the 6th of February 2023. The Founders' Day Festival was held from the 26th of July through the 4th of August. A number of online multiplayer games were hosted, and spam games held on the Discord server. A fictional first-person story about Kodiaker history by Oscar Luchins of Atlantic States won the Bromanican Award for Fiction, and a hand-drawn Battleship Girl of considerable detail was awarded first prize in the Founders' Day Art Contest. The summer quiet appears to be complete, and national attrition has begun to stall. From a population height of 467 nations, government officials expected to reach mid-August with only 250 remaining. Against odds, Kodiak found its lowest point to be no less than 350 nations, an attrition rate of only 50% of expectations. While government activity was less than the community team target, the core membership does appear to have weathered the slump better than expected. The Kodiak modded Valheim server is still open and available to Kodiaker citizens, or citizens of allied regions. Details are available on the Kodiak Discord server, or an information request may be sent to Reichland. And to recap tonight's main story, Invasion of the Darrant region appears to be imminent, as a large portion of the Great North's army has found itself stationed within just 30 kilometers of the border, and small arms fire is frequently sent over the border river, hitting homes, civilians, and border guards. And that's the news. You can stay up to date by checking into your local KBC News radio station, or by going online at kbc.net.kd/news. I'm Ryan Davenport, thanking you for joining us this evening. Have a great night.